And there we go, peeps. It seems like we're ready to get started. So thanks for those who's joined us again tonight. I see I broke my timer there. I put a GIF over my zeros, but I hope that you enjoyed the show. I had a lot of fun building these little lobby screens at the moment. So I just want to open up the Q&A as well and just see if there's any. Hi there, Phil. I don't know where you get the time to do all these good, crazy things, but thanks for being on board. So thank you so much for joining us. And of course, tonight's webinar is about Microsoft OneNote, Stream, Sway, and Forms. It's quite a lot of content to cover, of course, in such a short time. But again, as always, I'll share the recordings afterwards. I think you have to realize that because I publish it to YouTube afterwards, most of the people get to watch it afterwards because we don't always have the time to watch a webinar at that exact time. So that's why it's definitely important for me to always publish the recordings as well, and also the slides if there's slides. So I hope that you've obviously been able to go and grab the links to join because you are on the call. And that's also, that page is where you will get all the links to the recordings as well as the presentations. So let's get started. And then remember, Q&A is important for us. Phil is again there for me. So I'll publish questions as I see them come in. And if anyone wants to jump in and answer questions, you're welcome to, because we're a community and we're in this together. So let's get started. As always, my little disclaimer that I don't know everything, but I do know everyone that does. So always keep that in mind, that you might ask me questions and I might not know it. So I don't think that's the thing to worry about, yeah? So what we are going to cover today, just in order, is I'm going to look at Stream first, then at Sway, then at Microsoft Forms, and then at OneNote. And there's a reason for it, because I want to show you how to integrate those things into OneNote as well. Especially if you're in education, you'll see that OneNote's become such an incredible tool to be able to do learning plans and assignments and things with. So, and then as always, as promised, I will end off the webinar with cool tips and tricks on staying up to date. So let's get started. Cool. Microsoft Stream. So in this webinar, what I am going to do is I've got all the screenshots that I'm going to share with you first. And then at the end of it, I'll go into live demos. So I'll just definitely keep all the live demos till the end and then just go through some examples with you. So it's always easier to have the screenshots in the presentation as well, seeing as I do share the slides as well, just to help you with some pointers. And yes, then we'll do some live demos at the end, and then we can also look at any questions that you might have, etc. So firstly, Microsoft Stream. If you're not used to Stream yet, Stream is kind of the equivalent of YouTube in your company, and that's where you will store all the videos that you want to use in your daily digital crazy workplaces. Now, we used to load videos on SharePoint, and of course you can load it on your own computer as well and stuff, or in OneDrive, but the best place actually for it to be is in Microsoft Stream. It just renders much better there. And something that's pretty cool about Microsoft Stream is that it does transcripts as well. So you can actually search for a specific word that's used in a video, which I think is pretty amazing. It's not open for external sharing at the moment, so you can't load a video there and then share it externally out of your company, but you can also embed it in other apps. I will go through the options of channels and things as well in the demo. So if we look at Microsoft Stream, the best thing for me is to use channels. I definitely prefer to create channels, and that's under that create button. So think of a channel as you would of a folder that keeps things together, because I want to surface specific channels in specific places in Office 365. So I want to be able to pull a channel, and let's call it Microsoft Teams meetings, and I want to show that in a specific place. If those channels are too big, then it becomes quite difficult. People have to page through pages and pages of videos. So keep your channels a little bit smaller if you can, more focused. Not one big channel that says Office 365 training. I would definitely break it down to product. And if possible, I would definitely break it down to the disciplines or specific features so that you don't have loads and loads of videos in a specific channel. If you look at a channel, so this channel's name is Microsoft Teams, and you'll see that there's a couple of videos there. You can share a specific video in other apps and services, but you can also share the channel. So I can surface that channel or that specific video. I can surface it on another place in Office 365, and that's something I definitely want you to think about. Just a note on the transcripts as well, is that at the moment I'm speaking slowly because I'm paying attention to it, but normally I speak so fast that the transcripts makes a lot of mistakes. So if you don't clean up your transcripts before you publish that video, there might be some horrible mispronunciations in there, which might come out wrong. So please make sure that you clean up your transcripts before you just publish it across. And but then it's very valuable because it's searchable, of course. So this is a channel in Stream. And what I meant by a channel in Stream is that I can then, in Microsoft Teams, for example, I can go and I can surface that channel on a specific tab, which means it shows all the videos that's in that channel. And that's what I really, really like about Stream. So as someone loads new videos on that channel in Stream, it'll automatically show in Microsoft Teams where the people consume the content. Because the magic of the integration or the mutualistic symbiosis of Office 365 is that we should bring content to where people already are working. We should no longer expect people to navigate to other places to find content. So that's definitely a good thing. I think to do is to then surface the channel, which means it'll keep on showing the videos. So it's a really, really great feature. Now, of course, I can surface those channels on SharePoint pages as well. So this is my modern intranet, and this is surfacing a channel on a page, but I can also surface a specific video. So maybe it's just an announcement that the CEO has done and you want to share that. I can definitely share a specific video on a SharePoint page as well. So this is surfacing it on SharePoint. In the next screenshot, you'll see how I've actually surfaced a Microsoft Stream video in a Yammer post. Now, remember, tonight's not about Yammer, but the new look of Yammer has been released. So there's some really, really cool things in there. So definitely check that out. There's some nice webinars on that as well. But there you can see I'm surfacing a Microsoft Stream video in a Yammer post. Okay. Now, what I want you to remember is that it doesn't duplicate the content. It just surfaces it in other places. So it really makes it so much easier to share content across platforms, because Office 365 shouldn't be about when to use what app. It should be about where to use the app to get the most value, if that makes sense. So surface the apps in the places where the people work already, and you'll get most value from it, the content. Now, up next, I do say that I have a live demo, but I am going to go through all the slides first. And then at the end, I'll just go through all the apps and show you a couple of cool things. I think it just makes it easier than to try and manage the screens that I have to swap. So next up that I want to cover, so that was Stream. I do have a space for Q&A again later. I'll just check the questions if there are any. Now, Sway is a tool that I've used very, very well from Microsoft Office 365. And I use that to build digital care packs, training care packs, induction packs. I built my portfolio of services in there as well. If I have workshops or event invites, I build it in Sway as well. Now, Sway is kind of, if you think of a combination of a website, a PowerPoint, some digital tool, PDF, a Word document, all of those cool things put together. And that's how Sway works. Now, in a Sway, you can add other content as well. I can surface a video in there. I can surface a Bing or Google map in there. I can surface a Microsoft form in there. So imagine that as a whole pack of content that you can send to someone. And the advantage for me of Sways is firstly is that I can share it internal and external. And I can embed it in other apps and sites as well, even externally. It's mobile friendly, and you stay the owner of the content. So it's not like a document that you're sharing with someone. It's actually a live, like digital info pack, if you can call it that. And whenever someone clicks on that link to open it, it'll open up the latest version of it. So if I had to make an update to something tonight, if you click on it later, it'll update and it'll open up the latest update to the document. So it's a much better way for services and information packs, and especially I do my training manuals in that as well, so people can keep on accessing it, and if new features come out and I update those training manuals, then the link that they click on when it opens up the latest reviewed version of that. This is me taking a Microsoft Sway and actually surface it inside of a Microsoft team. Now, this specific one I've set to autoplay. So if someone goes to that tab, it'll start playing this way and it'll go through all the information that you want to share. So it's a really, really great tool to use for induction, for workshops, and for sharing information. So please take a look at the Microsoft Sways, of course. Here you'll see an example of me sharing a Microsoft Sway on a SharePoint page. So again, I can surface it on my intranet, on my training portal, maybe a nice little guide of things that you need to know about Microsoft Teams. And a really, really great tool is using Microsoft Sway. I don't think a lot of people are using it yet, but believe me, I use it to death. I think in last week's webinar, I actually shared a couple of sways that I've built around, I think, Office 365 and OneDrive, etc. So there is a physical sway that I've added as a web part on a SharePoint page. And because I've set that to autoplay, it will start scrolling through it nearly like a GIF, but it's got text that scrolls and it's got nice interactive things in there. You can even put, as I said, Microsoft Forms in there, like a survey that someone's got to fill in, etc. So that's the sway on a SharePoint page. And here you'll see this is a sway that I've brought in on Yammer. So again, I'm showing you how I can use the correct app for the right reason, but I can then surface that content anywhere that I like. It doesn't duplicate the content. It just surfaces there. So think of it like a shortcut or a link to it, but it's quite dynamic and it's quite useful. So there's the sway that I've actually added to Yammer, to a Yammer post. Here you'll see that in Sway, when I look at the sharing options, I can say that I can share a sway with specific people or groups. So that's email address. I physically put an email address in, and that can be external to your organization. I can also say that only people in my organization is allowed to see the sway. So whoever's got the link, maybe I just put a link on the intranet and people can click on it and open it. Then anyone in the organization with your credentials, with your email address or your domain name, your company name, can open it. Anyone with link is what I use for my training manuals. And you'll see that this very cool little get visual link button gives me the option to copy it and then paste it in the email. So this is what it would look like in an email if I have to forward this to clients, etc. So a really, really cool way to share information with people. Interactive. It's always the latest up-to-date version that it opens because it's a link to a URL that it actually opens. You'll see here that it says you can share it to Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn as well. And you can also get the embedded code to surface it on an external site. Under the more options, you'll see that you can even share it with an extra password on it, which I think is pretty cool. So if I had to share it with 10 people and it's a specific report or something, and it's high secret something, I can even add an extra password to it to just control it a little bit more in case that person's emails gets hacked or something. So that's a very good thing to know. Just while I don't want to forget about this, Sway, Stream, and Forms is not hosted in your own tenant, okay? So if your data center, for example, is in South Africa, that's not necessarily hosted in South Africa. It's hosted on shared data centers across the world. You can check the settings. You can go and find it in the admin centers. And so if you do have compliance issues with content that can't be outside of your country, please just check that these contents that you do create falls within your compliance rules or your regulations. So please just check up on that if it might be that it might be falling outside of your country, that it's not in a data center in your country. It's still protected. It's still got all the security and everything. It's just in a shared data center. So that's Sway, Stream, as well as Microsoft Forms. Again, I am going to run through a little bit of a demo at the end of my presentation, so we'll get to that in a bit. The next thing I do want to cover with you is Microsoft Forms. Now, Microsoft Forms, again, what an incredible little tool. It's used to build quizzes as well as Microsoft surveys or forms, okay? Now, let's just take a quick step back. I always forget to say this in the beginning. My whole world is about Office 365 or Microsoft 365. Okay, so that's cloud technologies. Very few of the content that I still share is based on older versions like Office 2010 or something. Okay, so you've got to understand that the context for the webinars and training, etc., that I do is really, really very focused on Office 365. So, so if you don't use Office 365 in your company, you might not have Microsoft Forms, if that makes sense. I just want to check that quickly. The Sway data is only held in the US. Oh, Thanks for that, Phil. So Phil's just confirmed that the sway data is only used in the US. So that's a very, very good thing to always check. So thanks for that, Phil. I do appreciate that. So the forms can be shared internal and external as well. You can share it for other people to collaborate on as well. So you can even share it with a group of people that can add questions on things. And as I said, there's quizzes and surveys. So quizzes has predetermined answers. So that's great for awareness and things. It's very mobile friendly. You can even share it with a QR code. So imagine putting a QR code up at your boardrooms or your training venues where people can scan and give feedback on, how the venue was, or I don't know, it's cool, crazy things like that. Okay. So what I do want to ask you when I think of these surveys and these forms is please don't go build business critical apps there. I've seen companies build their leave applications in here and oh my word, any electronic forms that they want people to fill in, it's not meant to be used for that. Just because it's easy to do it in that, it's not meant to be used for that. So definitely used for forms and for quizzes. Very, very easy to build. You can share it to collaborate with other people as well, so they can also add to the surveys, and lots of different ways to surface this content again. Also available to share internally and externally. So if I look at the Sway, you can bring in a nice background on the Sway. It's got a mobile and a desktop view that you can preview, and the sharing options is very similar to the Sway, where you can say that only specific people or only people in your organization or anyone with a link can fill it in. Okay, the Sways, Microsoft Forms also has branching logic, which I think is pretty cool. So branching logic's great when you want to say, so let's say your question is, do you have dependents? And then the next question is, how many dependents do you have? So you can, in branching logic, say that when someone says no, it then skips the next question. So that really helps to shorten surveys and keep it nice and clean for people. So that's what a Sway typically looks like. It's very, very easy to build. It's really an incredible tool. I can surface the Sways right there on SharePoint pages. So keep on saying Sway. What is going on with me? It's been a very long day for me, by the way. So I can surface the Microsoft Forms right there on a page for people to fill in. I can also surface the results. So I can also display the results based on how the permissions work for people to see the results to that specific Sway as well as it's being filled in real time. Then this is me surfacing a Microsoft form or a survey on a tab in a Microsoft team. Again, I can put the form there and say, hey guys, would you please give feedback? It's on the general channel, it's called survey. Or again, I can actually show the results on a specific tab. So I can say, hey guys, there's all the results. You can monitor it as the results are coming in. So very, very cool tool to use. So again, demo time, we're going to deal with that right at the end. Let's just see. I think I've already looked at that. I don't see that I've had any questions yet. And thanks for letting us know about that, Phil. So Sway data only held in the US, but it is very important to go and check for where the forms and stream data is held. But apparently Sway is only in the US. Okay, so up next is Microsoft OneNote, okay? So the next couple of pages I am going to share with you is straight from the Microsoft OneNote site, okay? I didn't design these. I will go into demo mode with you and I will share some very cool things with you. But if I look at OneNote, I mean, this obviously is your digital notebook, okay? So think of a book with tabs in it that you can page through. It's got different sections in it. You can make notes in it. You can scribble in it. You can highlight on it. You can draw pictures in it. You can do planning in it. It's a really incredible tool. I'm pretty convinced my sister got me to use OneNote, Dina. I'm pretty convinced she did. Okay. So I wasn't that organized before. And I'm at this point where I use OneNote on my mobile phone. It's on all my PCs. Everything syncs together. I can be in town and make a note so that I don't forget by the time I get home. My business OneNotes as well as my personal OneNotes are on my phone as well. So it's a really, really incredible tool. And it's as awesome as what you're looking at there right now. Okay. Now, is your digital notebook, it's definitely my world organized. I always say that OneNote brings calm to the chaos for me. If I didn't have OneNote, people, I mean, some of you know me, Phil knows me, okay? If I didn't have OneNote, man, this crazy chick, my life's all over the show, okay? My head inside is so crazy that if I didn't have something like this that just manages my life a little bit better, then I would be completely lost. Okay, so every single meeting I have, I open a OneNote for it. Every client that I have a section in my company OneNote for it, and that means I can access it from anywhere at any time. If I'm standing in a row at the bank and I'm bored, I can quickly make some notes for my next meeting or check some things. So it's definitely a great way to organize, and you can have different OneNotes with different sections in it. So that's the different OneNotes you can have. These are the sections you can have, and think of those as the little tabs in your notebook, okay? And these are the pages in the different sections. So in meetings, I can have multiple pages again as well. And then on the page, you can have incredible content. And the integration between the other apps and things with OneNote is really incredible. Okay. So then up next, if I think of the inspiration and the creativity side of it, is of course, if you do have a device that has a touch screen. In this instance, they're looking most probably I think that's most probably a Surface Pro, but even iPads or even your mobile device, you'll be able to draw in your sways as well, which is a sway. What is it with me and sway people? In your OneNotes as well, so you can draw and color things in. So even for designers. And I see like Louise then does great sketch notes in OneNote as well. And think of your whiteboard that you used to have in the boardroom at the office. Why not rather do it in OneNote and have it up on the screen, and then no one has to run around and take photos of things, and you can share it immediately afterwards. So it's a really, really incredible creative tool. And I definitely do think that it spurs inspiration. So how many pages can you have in a section? I'm going to publish that. Phil, do you want to Google that? I have no idea. Can someone go like search that for us quickly? We want to know how many pages can you have in a section. And I'd love to know as well, how many sections can you have in a book? I actually didn't look up limitations. So anyone who's fast at going and searching something, let's see if someone can come up with that answer for us. Thanks for that question. It's a good question, by the way. It won't surprise me if that's my sister who asked that, because she does annoying things like that, puts me on the spot. So also in OneNote, of course, the co-authoring, the sharing and the collaboration is incredible. And of course, when you bring it into Teams as well, it's a really, really cool thing. Now, here you can see, and they're trying to show that it's different people that are working in this, okay? So making notes, working together, it actually keeps track as well of the changes. You have versions on pages that you can look at as well. Really, really, really cool tool. As you can see there, you can absolutely bring in images as well, and I am going to demonstrate that in a bit. Even videos and lots of cool things. Even when you copy and paste content from websites, it's really nice and dynamic. So it's an incredible, I'm sure I have an answer already. Okay, so Hajit, nice comment there. So let's just see what, hi there. Use the extension in Google Chrome called OneNote Clipper, which makes it super easy to save stuff from web pages. I've actually looked at that before. I can't say I've used it too much, but in Google Chrome, and thanks for that, that's a cool tip. In Google Chrome, there is a thing called OneNote Clipper, which means I reckon if you want to like reply to that, I reckon it takes like a screenshot with a reference, like a URL to the site. I think that's what it does. So a very cool thing for doing research and things, as well as to grab screenshots and things from different websites. That's a very cool tip. Thanks for that, Hajit. I think that's a cool thing that I didn't think of sharing. And see, that's why community is amazing, people. This is all of us. We must just get more people on board, and we must just all chat and share amazing, cool things that we are doing. Okay, and then, of course, OneNote in education. And I'm not just talking about schools, people. I'm talking about learning and doing research and sharing things with people, using it across devices. I've seen a lot of people, and just while I'm on education, I've seen so many people on Facebook. I'm going to check the latest question now. On Facebook, there's a group called Microsoft Teams for Education. So we've done a lot of support there as well to try and answer the questions that the teachers have, because they've gone through a really, really tough time. Okay, they were quickly thrown into digital classrooms where it might not have been that digital before. So if you have any OneNote or Teams knowledge, please just jump on board and see if you can help these people out. They've got thousands of questions. And one of them that keeps on coming up is that someone will say, I've got a device, I want to use a whiteboard in a session, but I don't have a device with a touch screen, okay? Then what some other people have said is, why don't you log into the OneNote on your phone? And that means you can actually use your phone to make notes and scribble things. And that's like when you're in meetings or something. So let's quickly just scan through the questions again. Phil says he uses Clipper, awesome tool. Limitations on pages. Oh, I don't know what I've just published. Let me just see what's going on here. Let's just see. Extension grabs pages, articles, or regions. Oh, that's quite cool. Thanks, Phil. So that Clipper actually grabs things. Limitations on pages and sections is based on what you store. For example, the size of the content. That's quite good to know. I didn't even know that. So it's not that it's a number of pages or sections, it's more based on the volume, so how big the files or the content is in there. So I take it if you have a lot of videos and images and crazy stuff in there, then you could have less pages and sections. That's interesting to know. Would suggest keeping your OneNote relatively small, create multiple OneNotes for different projects. Makes sense. So a good tip that Phil's also given, and I'll show you that when we go to Microsoft Teams, is don't make that OneNote too big. Mine's very big. My company OneNote's massive, by the way. Maybe I should split that baby up at some point because it's so big. I've done hidden sections now and dropped things in, and yeah, maybe I should definitely keep that a bit smaller. I can't say I've run into any issues, and most of the time mine's more text that's written, so it's kind of been okay. But I do agree, I would have OneNotes for specific things. And in Teams, I have a OneNote for each team and for each project. So that definitely helps to bring that down. So here's a great group to join on Facebook. Oh, nice. Thank you very, very much for that, Ajit. So there's a nice link as well for a Facebook group to join for a bunch of OneNote geeks, it seems. I think they must probably are sharing cool things in around OneNote. I absolutely love OneNote, I must admit. So that's a very, very cool tool. Then just very quickly is just OneNote at a glance. So, of course, again, this comes from the Microsoft site. I didn't want to spend too much time on building pages. So organizing your stuff, tagging, which I'm going to show you now in a bit as well, inking, being able to draw, and very, very cool things like that. Mixed media, so that's audio notes. I mean, you can do recordings in there as well. It's just amazing. Online videos, adding files, like attachments to files and things. And clip and save. So there we go. Thanks, Ajit. The OneNote Web Clipper, okay, is to grab screenshots and for making notes and things. And then also being able to share notebooks with co-workers, friends, and family. Very important, though. Be careful of sharing notebooks. People get confused with just sharing a copy of a page and whether it gives permissions to the whole OneNote. So I do think that people have to be careful with that. I've got my opinions about OneNote 2016 and the new OneNote. I'd love to hear what you guys think about that, Ajit and Phil, because I haven't let go of OneNote 2016 yet. I'm that change management specialist. Check that's not letting that baby go. Okay, it's been a bit of a challenge for me. Okay, so we are going to go into some live demo stuff now before I end off with the staying up to date. So let me just get my Chrome up, and I just want to make sure. There we go. There we go. Just want to check questions again. I really love this, by the way, this interaction. I'm thinking, Ajit and Phil, I wanted to do a Ask Us Anything webinar. You guys must tell me if you're keen on doing something like that, because I think we can have 10 presenters. So that'll be quite cool if we have a lot of people and we all just ask questions and just throw it at each other and have a cool webinar with something like that. So I'm quite cool on doing something like that. So I do have a question here, and someone has asked, can you insert stream recording into OneNote? Absolutely, which I am going to show you in a little bit as well. So I've got all my Office, my apps open there that we've been chatting about. The first thing that I do want to share with you again when it comes to staying up to date is that if I go to the What's New in Office 365 website, so I always share that in my staying up to date resources. So if I go to that, you can actually filter and specifically look at OneNote. So if you're keen on these things, it's the only way that you can learn is to just go and see at least what the latest features are that's been released. And there's quite a couple of features that has been released, okay? I mean, I only today eventually changed one of my OneNotes to dark mode. I don't know, I just haven't gotten around to it. Okay, so they've got quite a couple of cool new things. So easily navigate, improved print to OneNote, uploading your local notebooks to the cloud. So that's quite a cool thing, because I find a lot of people that are still working on very old notebooks that doesn't come part of their OneDrive. So it's made it easier now to actually AMAs. Yeah, ask us anything. Definitely keen on that, Phil. I love that. I think we should arrange something like that. So get coordinates for math equation. Gee whiz, people, my head's too flat and I'm way too blonde for that one. So maths, nope, never been my big thing. So mark your notes with custom tags. That's pretty cool. I'm a very, very big tag fan. Okay, so tag your it. I'm going to show you some cool tag things in a moment. Tag notes, searching, etc., etc. So please go scroll through this. This is I'm actually going to gooi this in gooi in Afrikaans, by the way, is to throw it in somewhere. So there's the what's new in OneNote that I definitely think everyone should take a look at. So definitely go and have a cool look at that. So now let's go back to the little demos that I wanted to run through with you. Okay, so I'm going to start with Microsoft Sway, Forms, then go back to Stream, and then I'm going to go back to OneNote, okay, and show you some cool things in OneNote. So if I go to Microsoft Sway, so there you can see there's my sways that I've built. There's templates that you can use as well. Now, don't make a mistake. I'm creative, okay? Absolutely agree with you. Thanks, Phil. So Phil's advice is please always move your OneNotes to the cloud to get access on mobile. But not only that, is if your PC crashes, you can't find that notebook again. So always make sure that your OneNotes on your machine is in the cloud, okay? If you're not sure how that works, reach out on social media, go hashtag OneNote. Guys, how does this work? Go search for it. And you'll see it was obviously there as well as an article that's going to help you to actually achieve that better. So here's Microsoft Sway. So I really, really struggled to build sways from the templates, people. I tried a couple of weeks and I was just like, nah, I'm fed up with it, okay? So if you look at building a new sway, it was actually a lot easier for me to just build a new sway and to start from scratch. So think of Sway as a Word document with sections, okay, or paragraphs and headers and things, which means that I can add a background there. I can say webinar, oopsie, Sway webinar, and then I can add sections here. So here you can see you can add text, images, stacks. Stacks is images like this that you can scan through, okay? So think of it as, hey, look at the photos from our previous party or our team building event, and you can just scan through these photos. You can upload files in here as well. Media is images, video, audio, embedded code. So embedded code is how I bring Bing Maps or Google Maps or even Microsoft Forms into it, by the way. So that's being able to bring a Microsoft form into it. Then under grouping, I use the groupings quite a lot because that allows me to bring content together in one place. So I would use a grid, for example, and on the grid or on automatic, I would bring two web parts in on one section, if I can call it a web part. So that would be great to bring a Microsoft form in next to a map or something crazy like that. And there's the stacks and there's the slideshow. Slideshow, of course, brilliant for before and after photos. So that's quite a cool thing to do, is your before and after photos of things. So that's pretty much what the Sway looks like. If you go to the design, just to give you some quick tips there before I move across. So there's design. And when I go to design, there's a styles button on the right-hand side. There isn't a lot of styles, okay? So don't get fancy pants with me and say, oh, I can't bring my company template into it, because you're not going to be able to. But I pick a standard template that I stick with, and I can customize it slightly, and then I just always use that same template. So maybe you can decide on a color and fonts that must be used in your company, but rather use images that are company branded, if that makes sense. So design a standard like landing page for your sways that must be used in the company so that you have uniformity or brand awareness. Okay, there you'll see is vertical. So that's for sways that scrolls down. There's horizontal, and it's a little bit like a moving sway like this. And this is the one that I use. So I use it's like got parallax scrolling going there. It's very, very sexy, okay? So I'll show you now, for example, and let me just refresh this. There we go. That's what a sway looks like. That's pretty much been built out, okay? So this was for a workshop, And it's got details about the workshop, the what, the why are we doing this workshop, how are we going to do it. So I've got the agenda in there, etc. Then who's the facilitator, where are we doing it. So there you can see that's the map to the place, and that is the Microsoft form that people can fill in to register for the event. So let's quickly see if I press on play, or wait, let's first go to design. If I go to the styles, you'll see that mine's set to these slides, and this is the format that I always use. There's just no breaking that habit, okay? And if you go to play, you can actually see what it looks like. So this little movement and funny fancy pants thing that it does it on its own, okay? This one's set to autoplay, so I'm not even going to touch this page. You'll see that it just does an autoplay. So that's how I can add it on pages so that it does an autoplay and for inductions and things like that, which is pretty cool. Then, and I just want to go back. So there we go. Listen, by the way, my neighbors are having a party, so if you can hear them, there's no stopping them tonight. So if I then go back to the sway, you can add some content there, and that sway that I want to share, I just want to get back to my sharing options. There's the sharing option. So that's specific people, those in your org, anyone with a link, that's the visual link. There's the embedded code, which means I can even bring this into a Microsoft OneNote or onto Pages like I've already showed you. So if I had to copy that sharing link there, for example, and I just want to see where my OneNote is. Okay, let's just find my my OneNote. I'm going to just paste this in there, and I'll show you in a moment. I'll bring it across. So this is my OneNote, and you'll see that I can even embed a sway into a OneNote. I mean, this is a OneNote with sections and with pages. We are going to get to this in a moment when I do the demo a little bit more. But you'll see that because I set it to autoplay, it actually starts playing on its own. It does give this message at the top if the sway is open externally as well. If it's only open for internal use, then it doesn't do that crazy pants little site users cookies thing on the site there. So then that's my sharing link. That's my visual link that I use for emails that I want to copy an email. So very, very cool tool. Then next up, let's quickly look at Microsoft Stream. So Microsoft Stream, as mentioned, allows me to build channels out. So if I had to go to create, I can actually create channels and things here. And in those channels, I can then add content. So again, if I had to go to any one of these channels, this is where I can see all the videos. This is where I can copy the link to the channel, so I can add it to a team, etc. This is where I can copy the links to the specific video if you want to surface this in a OneNote on a page, of course. So that's the question that we had earlier on. So that's the sharing links to that. We'll bring that back to OneNote now in a moment. This is Microsoft Forms. So man, it's so easy to build, peeps. It's just the easiest thing ever. I'll quickly just go through some of the questions that are available in Microsoft Forms. So that's the name for it. That's your description you can give. There's your image. Of course, I can choose a little theme there. Pretty cool. And if I look at the questions, I've got choices. And a choice could be multiple answers, which is checkboxes, or it could be a single. You can set it as required or not. There's text. So of course, text can be multiple lines or single. I can do ratings as well. So rate the service, etc. Dates. These are quite cool as well. So like it's, I use quite a lot. So to shorten the survey, so I would go rate the following, etc. And then go option 1, option 2, option 3. So rate my cooking, I don't know, my training, my whatever. They've also got some new ones lately, which is net promoter score. So how likely are you to, you know, suggest so-and-so? They've got file upload now as well, but it's only available internally because it's going to use your OneDrive to share that file, by the way. But you can set it up now for internal file uploads. So quite a cool thing as well. I jumped the gun on you there, Phil. So Phil was just reminding me that, no, I actually said it before you said it. So file uploads only for internal, which is sad because I can't wait for that to be open externally. But anyway, so file uploads. And then the nice thing about this is, people, you don't understand how the AI works in these things. That's really, really incredible. Okay, so check this out. Okay. Question ideas. I mean, it's coming up with fancy pants ideas now, but I'm going to go and say, What is your marital status? Okay, so check this out. Single. Spelling is important. Single. Check it. Married, divorced, but check how funny this is going to get now. Widowed, separated, historic, opposition, gathered, and double. It gets a little bit over creative when you start adding too many. But the AI in this is just incredible, people. It's really, really unbelievable how it helps you. So these type of things I can obviously share. Again, I can say that only people in my org or anyone with a link. I can get a QR code as well. So anyone who's got a phone now can scan that and fill it in, by the way. There's the embedded code as well that I can surface on websites. So I've got Microsoft Forms that are surfaced on my external website for contact requests, because I just got too much spam from the Bootstrap website. This is where I can share it as a template with people to copy and recreate the survey. This is where I can share it with them so they can add questions as well. So that's pretty cool. There's your themes. And then when you do have branching options, it'll have the branching options there as well. So that's your Microsoft Forms. There you can see that's my computer looking one, and there's my mobile looking one. How sexy is that? I mean, how easy is it for normal people like me these days to do really cool things? Okay, then if I look at Microsoft Teams as well, just while I'm on the Teams, and I'm going to get back to OneNote now in a moment and just wrap up with some cool things on OneNote. While I'm on Teams, if I look at my meetings, for example, every Team's got a OneNote link to it, okay? And it's got a planner as well. Now, a lot of people are making mistakes with their OneNotes in their Teams, okay? So I wanted to just show you this. So remember, I can have separate teams. I could have a team for each project or each class or each department or something that I belong to. But check this out. If I click on Add OneNote, please be very, very careful of this. A lot of people don't realize that it's creating new OneNotes if they just type a new name in. And you're going to end up with gazillions of OneNotes in the background. So see that create new notebook. You don't really want to do that. You actually want to link to the existing OneNote that was created when the team was created. So always make sure that you select that one. And for example, if I wanted to add the OneNote now on this resources channel, so I'm going to go to resources, I'm going to select OneNote, and I'm going to select that notebook, but actually I want to open a section on this specific channel. So if I expand that OneNote there, you'll see there it's already showing my other sections, and now I'm going to create a new section called resources. So when it comes to the categories in my teams and my notebooks, I always stick to the same names as my channels, okay? I might branch out further, but I always have a section for each channel in my team as well. But I suppose that really depends on what type of teams you have set up, okay? So it's just a suggestion. But there, I've not created a new OneNote. I've just created a section in the OneNote. Be very careful of creating a new OneNote notebook on each of your channels, peeps. I have written some blogs about that. Just make a mental note about that, not to go mess that up. Now, when I've added my my OneNotes to my teams, because remember, this is a team where a group of people work together. You can make notes. Everyone can find it there. Don't make a mistake. People are going to see the stuff that you put in this OneNote, because this is a OneNote for a group of people, okay? I still don't like working in the OneNote inside of the teams, okay? And maybe it's because bandwidth in South Africa is not that great, but I also don't like the space. So at the moment, this space looks very big because it's on my massive like widescreen, but normally if I work on my Surface Go, that's just too small for me, okay? So you'll see here that if you say open an app, it actually gives you the ability to sync this OneNote now down to your machine. And that's also how you can open it, of course, on your mobile, is to go and add a specific OneNote that you're using. Once you've opened this app in your desktop app, then it's synced down to your desktop app. So I'm going to bring this OneNote back across. This is that specific OneNote, that TGS training and resources. There you'll see my other OneNotes, by the way, but this is the one that I'm in at the moment. And this is the one that's created in that team. It hasn't synced that section yet. So let's just create, edit this notebook. So there's resources. I'm going to edit this notebook, and I'm going to just put, come on, I'm going to just, I don't know, call it training notes or something for today. And so you'll see there that I've got a section called resources now, and there's a page called training notes for today. So if I go back to the OneNote now, I've got to just find it. It'll create that in a moment when it actually syncs down, okay? So these are my different sections in the OneNote, and these are the pages that I can create. So an important thing that I do for in OneNote is that I use it for my meeting notes, okay? I still use OneNote for meeting notes. I don't use the meeting notes inside of Teams. It's just as easy as that. And something that I do as well, so you'll see that I've got a section at the moment called meetings, and then I've got a page there called 2020. So that's my 2020. And then what I do is every single time I create a page, I always start with my date. So let's say it's for today. So it's 05/28. There's already one. So let's make it 05/29. So let's say this is a webinar wrap-up meeting. And I can then make notes in this. And you'll see that it adds it there. Okay, so I just want to move this up. So I normally have my latest pages right at the top and in my OneNote. But then the other thing that I do in my desktop app, by the way, is that I indent those pages. So if I make that a sub-page, I just want to show you what happens. So I'm going to make that a sub-page. And that means that 2020 is my clean page, and that's my sub-pages, which means I can have another page, let's say next year, called 2021. And under that, if I add another page, oopsie, I don't know, a meeting, just to give you an idea. That means that I can then collapse the different pages. So if you look at this, oh, that must come out, sorry. Promote subpage, let's bring that out, promote subpage. There we go. So that means I can actually collapse these pages, and that's why I prefer using the desktop app, because it just cleans up my OneNote. So that really, really helps me a lot, is to collapse pages and to indent them. Now, if I look at these pages, the thing that's very, very cool for me for OneNote is the tags. So I could use tags here at the top that says these are things that I must do. So I must prepare for webinar, I must publish recording, I must send email about next webinar, I don't know. And there you can see I can actually tick them off. So it's my kind of like little way of just making, it's not a planner, it's not going to remind me or anything. It's just my way that I take notes of things and I deal with things. You can use different types of tags as well. So there's things like questions that I have is what is the limit, on pages and sections, for example. How long, so I must just add that again. Does that work again? There we go. And then of course you can see there's even important things, remember for later, set definitions, etc. You can also now set your own create tags. So I can have a create tag that says groceries to buy, for example. So groceries to buy, I'm going to set a heart. Oh no, let's make that wine to buy. Let's be realistic here. Okay, so that's my icon, which means I've created my own tag now. Because what happens a lot of times is that I'll be in different notebooks and I'll think of something. So sometimes I make notes in other notebooks and then I can't find it again. Okay, so that's quite something that happens quite regularly. So I can now go and say, oh, wine to buy. Springfield Estate. Maybe someone tells me about a new great wine and I think it's called, what? I can't remember what it's called, but anyway, so when I then search for tags, which is the great thing, is when you then search for tags, it's much easier to find specific tags that you've used across your OneNotes. So that's using tags in OneNote. I would definitely go and look that out. There's dictation as well, which means I can set up dictation. It's going to start typing. I don't know if it's going to work now while I'm on the web or not. Let's try this out. I actually don't think it's going to, and it's working, people. Dictation only works as well as how slow you talk. Okay, so there's dictation. Of course, as mentioned, I can insert stream videos there. So let's go grab a stream video. So I'm going to go share. Let's go get that copy. If I go back here and I just paste that link, it's go. Ooh, did I actually do that? There we go. I just want to make sure it doesn't start playing now. So just give me one moment. Otherwise, it's going to start playing. It's all over my dictation So that's busy loading the stream. I must just make sure that it doesn't start playing in the background now. So that's bringing stream into there. Let's just stop that for a moment. Don't play, don't play, don't play, don't play. Doesn't look like it's going to play. And then the same as with Microsoft Forms, by the way. So if I get the sharing link to this and I copy that and I go back to my OneNote, I can also bring forms in here. And as mentioned, I can also bring Sway in here. So very, very cool, the different interactions and engagements and the integrations that you can have. There we go, Microsoft Form right there in OneNote, which I think is pretty incredible. So let's quickly look at the demo. So indents and collapses, tags and searches. Be very careful when you share a OneNote. I would, in the old OneNote, I don't want to go into that detail now. In the old OneNote, we could save a mailer page out, and we've all asked for it very, very nicely. I absolutely agree, Phil. I still prefer the desktop apps on all of these little things. So Phil is saying that the dictation in the web app inside of Teams doesn't work so well, or at least in his experience, he prefers to use the apps on the desktop for dictation, which is pretty much what I've done now. I prefer using the desktop app, not inside of Teams. So even though it's added to the team, I still work with it on my desktop. So creating sections. So to create sections and pages, so there's my sections, by the way, and there's my pages. I'm not quite sure why it's not shared the resource yet and why it's not synced yet, but let's not split hairs about that right now. But that's where you can create pages and sections. And of course, that's where you can see all your OneNotes that you belong to. Be very careful of sharing a page out of OneNote that you're not giving someone permissions to it. I would much rather make a copy of that page to another OneNote that's in a Microsoft team or something where it is shared with a group of people. So that's something I would be careful of. And then I just wanted to check that quickly. So blah, 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 blah. Let's see how much time is left. I've only got a couple of minutes left. So let's finish up this presentation of ours, shall we? And I'll just check if there's any others. So on the staying up to date, I'm going to round off this. If you have any other questions, please just post them. The What's New in Office 365 is an incredible resource to stay up to date with Office Pro Plus features, etc. Then, of course, the Microsoft 365 roadmap. I'm really just running through this because it's things that I think everyone should know. Then, of course, adoption resources, which is where you get that Teams adoption guides and everything. So a great website to use as well. Then also the Office 365 Training Center is a great resource that I use. Really, really great resources there, cheat sheets, infographics, etc. The SharePoint Lookbook, man, makes me super excited, the SharePoint Lookbook. It's got great examples of sites. It's got templates that you can download and import for your tenants as well. It's got the example of the crisis management site that you get now. And of course, in there is also Microsoft 365 Learning Pathways, which can be deployed to your tenant, which gives you Microsoft training material right there in your own SharePoint site. There is the Flipbook, which I'll show you now in Teams very quickly, that you can add. There's the URL to your team to help people. That's from the adoption resources, by the way. There's the demo. I'm also going to show that to you now. Please sign up for Tech Community. I always mention this. It's such a great site to use. And then don't forget that the resources already are built into apps as well. So the What's New, the training, the suggesting of features are all in there as well. And I think I've kept on par with the Q&As. There's just a lot of the Twitter handles that I think is very important to follow as well. If you are on Twitter, I definitely wouldn't be able to not work with Twitter. And let's quickly go back to the Teams, just quickly inside of Teams. I want to show you how sexy that Flipbooks are. So here's the demo one that I just showed you. So that's that URL that I've added as a tab. So look how cute this is. I can click and say team is a collection of people, content and tools based on blah, blah, blah. Click, and then it gives me another tip. Click, it gives me another tip. So this is inside of Teams at the moment, by the way. It's pretty awesome. And there's the adoption one that you can see. This is that Flipbook. This is really cool, people. So check this out. How cool is that? So my sound's set down at the moment, but normally you can actually hear it page, which is very, very sneaky. So that's the adoption tools that I've just shared with you. There's videos that you can watch, and you can add it inside of your teams as a tool to help people learn and to stay up to date on things. And that pretty much 5 minutes before time brings me to the end of our webinar today. As always promised, if you have people that wanted to attend and I couldn't, I will share the recording tomorrow, and you will find it on that webinar page of mine, and I will share the slides as well. If is there any other questions, maybe any other feedback? Phil, thank you so much. Ajit as well, for all your feedback. I really enjoy this, having some friends on the call as well. That gives us some good insights. Any other questions, please reach out. If not, grab us on Twitter. I'm at Tracy VDS. And in previous webinars, I've also asked people, please don't send direct messages with questions. It's not that I don't want to help you, because I do. It's just that it happens like 50 times a day. And I'm sure the guys agrees with that. I can't help everyone. So rather post a question on social media, tag me in it, because then other people can answer as well. And we can kind of put it out there, and then other people can also learn from it. But please don't send me a direct message and asking me to help with a specific solution. It really helps if you just post it as an open question, and it gives us all the opportunity to learn from it as well. So if you don't mind. I just want to quickly see something I got posted. Sway is definitely, so I'll publish that. Thank you so much for your feedback. Sway is incredible people. I absolutely love Sway. And if you go to my blog and you go search for Sway, I've done lots of blogs and videos on it. So if you want to get started, absolutely love it for my training manuals. It's such an incredible tool. I definitely would think of using that. So anything else from anyone else? Any message they want to post, or anything they want to say, or a cool thing that they want to share? Maybe something that you've started using or something. Anyone's welcome to share some cool things with us. Nope. Does that then bring us to the end of today? I definitely want to thank you all. I want you to stay safe and healthy, and keep on learning and share the news. Remember, I do this out of the love of community. You haven't seen a single advertisement in my webinars. I'm not selling this. So I do it for the love of community. So please share that page with people if you think they can learn from it as well. Share the video with them if you think they can learn through the journey with you. And then on next week, by the way, next week, I think I'm going to do Microsoft Teams. So I think I've published it already today. And that's more for people to get started with Teams. So really using the Teams, the chat, the functions, the channels, the tabs, the whatever you can think of, live events, all of those cool little things in Teams. So I'm going to be doing that next week, Thursday. And then I'll catch some of you online. Phil, as always, thanks for being there. It's nice having you around. I think you must all just be amazing, stay amazing. And I think I'll catch up with you next week then. Take care.